IVM.
This is a special edition of Paisa, Vaisa. On this episode, we have Anand Jain, founder of CleverTap. Anand has over 28 years of work experience as an entrepreneur. This is the last of a three-part conversation. If you missed the first two parts on Anand's journey from Burp to CleverTap, make sure to check that out.
Listeners, welcome back to the third part of my entrepreneurship series with Anand Jain of CleverTap. In the first two parts, we covered about how Anand set up Burp and then sold Burp. In this third part, we will talk about how Anand's journey went from Burp to CleverTap. Anand, you were talking about, just in the studio, you were telling us about how you're a commerce graduate and then became the CTO of Infomedia. I mean, I'm a chartered accountant myself. I know that I can't write code and I'm never going to become a CTO. What did that feel like? Tell me.
Yeah, so it was like, obviously the feeling was amazing, like, it kind of validates being CTO of Burp, which was like a 7-people company, all the way to CTO of Infomedia, 120 people I was working with in the tech side of things. It's an amazing feeling. Also, my first leadership role, if you will, with 100 plus people, right? It's easy to kind of manage 7 people, I think. 100, like, you have the whole dynamic changes because there are managers and managers ke managers and, there are people and you probably don't know everyone by name. So the dynamic is very different.
And working in an office, bureaucracy, the whole hierarchy thing and all that.
Correct. So that got to us very, very fast. Like, so in Burp, when we needed a server, I would call up Dell in Bangalore and I say, I need this server, this spec. How soon can you deliver? And they would say, sir, hum aapko IVR pe dal dete hain. Aap credit card ka number punch karo and the server will be dispatched. I said, I want it dispatched today. Kehte, sir, it will be done. And then 3 days later, by FedEx, that server would show up in my office.
Wow, okay.
In the Infomedia scheme of things, because there was a mix of blue collar and white collar, so Infomedia 18 also used to run a printing press of DY Patil in Vashi, I believe.
Yes, Nerul, yeah.
Nerul. So blue collar, white collar, like, we are all the startup fellows. We wanted to run super fast. And then there is this printing press, jo saal mein ek bar yellow pages chapta hai. What rush do they have in their life? Right? So the purchase committee used to meet every third week of the month. And once I was told, ki abhi ruk jao, third week mein dekhenge. I'm like, really, why? I said, I am ready to swipe my card. Like, we need a server. They're like, nahi, aise nahi hota. Wo tender, we'll have an L1, L2, L3 quotation and all that.
Oh, okay.
So that hit me very hard because I'm more of a doer than a preacher or whatever. Like, I mean, some kitab mein padh liya ke aise 5 tips to whatever. Like, I don't do that. Like, I actually do stuff, right? And that's the easiest way to learn.
Okay.
So yeah, it was very, very hard, like, but we kind of navigated that, used that time of Infomedia and then finally when Infomedia merged into Network 18 to learn a lot of these HR practices. How do you manage people? How do you manage the culture of an organization? How do you kind of shape and tune that? Because every person is different. What motivates them, what their desires are very different. Yeah. Some people might join Infomedia 18 or Network 18 because that might, they might feel the comfort of a larger company. I'm there because I wanted to take this thing a lot faster than what was going at. Right? So different motivations. How do you align all of that?
Okay.
So spent a lot of years, like the next few years doing that.
Sure. CleverTap. Where did the idea come from? Where were you at that point of time? And what was your thinking? Because this is the second time that you are going to get into a startup. Right? But you've learned a lot. You've done like 10 years of all that, whatever you call it, ghodagiri, slogging. You're much smarter now. What did you do different this time?
Yeah, so with CleverTap, I'll tell you how the idea occurred. Like, so Infomedia is when I met my other 2 co-founders. One of them moved back from the US just to try out Indian waters, if you will. His kids were 4 years of age. Bola agle 4-5 saal India mein rehkar thoda sa bachchon ko India ka flavor aa jayega before we kind of head back to the US.
Okay.
Nice formative years in India, etc. Right? So that person is Sunil. He's my co-founder now.
Sure.
He was my manager in Infomedia. They said, "Hey, Anand, meet Sunil. He's your new manager."
Right.
He's the COO of Infomedia. So good, like, good guy actually, very good.
Okay.
And then I hired one other person called Suresh, IIT Madras. He sent in an email saying that, "Hi, I'm looking to work in Mumbai." He was from Bangalore, like, and that breed is very rare, like, that people from Bangalore
want to move back to Mumbai.
And work in a tech kind of startup, right?
Yeah. It's the other way around normally.
Yeah. So I got him, like, interviewed him and I was his boss. So we were like 3 in a hierarchy, Sunil, Anand, Suresh.
Okay.
And 4 years of, kind of doing network 18, info media, where things are really, really slow. It's very hard to manage all this, right? And we also got a first-hand view of how a media business is run at a much larger scale.
Okay.
And then, on a whim, I went up to Sunil and I said, Sunil, I've got my papers in my pocket. I'm quitting. Do you also want to come along? And then he said, "Theek hai," of course, very hard. So we had both 2 kids each, Sunil and me.
Yeah.
And I'm the only breadwinner in my family.
Yeah.
So my wife is a homemaker.
Right.
She's much more qualified than me, but she's a homemaker as of now. And घर का loan चल रहा है.
Right.
गाड़ी का EMI चल रहा है.
Okay.
And I am, this 37-year-old, walking up to Sunil, who was 40 then. कि यार सब छोड़ के स्टार्टअप करते हैं. So we are not like fresh kids out of IIT, with dreams in our eyes kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And he says, man, it's going to be tough.
Right.
I said, तो क्या हो गया? 6 महीने के बाद if it doesn't work out, we'll go apply, update our LinkedIn, thing, and we'll go get a job, यार. तू कहीं CTO बन जाएगा, I'll become some VP of engineering or whatever,
Always a plan B.
It's an easy thing, but I'm like the Napoleon Bonaparte here. I burn the bridge, I don't necessarily
go back to the same place that you
have the
understood.
Weekends and evenings, or थोड़ा सा ये करते हैं शाम को, दिन में have a 9 to 5 job kind of thing, right?
Everything is like passion and slog and just build it.
You have to cut the cord, you have to. When I moved back from the US, I actually withdrew my green card application.
Okay.
And I moved back from the US.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm,
kind of shows more of, I know, I think it shows a commitment. That's what it needs to build an organization like that, I think.
Yes, you have to have commitment, right? You can't be hedging. You can't be doing this one thing on the side and the other on the other side. You can't win like that. It also makes you super hungry, hungry to win.
Right.
So Sunil and I, took a bit of convincing Sunil, took me 30 days. And then we spoke to Suresh.
Sure.
And the 3 of us quit to start CleverTap.
Okay.
So we quit and then we started CleverTap.
So at that point of time, did you have, I don't know say 1 year of expense in your pocket? Did you have funding to begin? And how was the money scene then? Because I'm sure you've come a long way from making ends meet, and going without salaries and all that and looking for people. How was it different this time around?
Yeah, so for me, I was a lot more invested because I had 2 kids.
Okay.
My mom fell ill, she was semi-paralyzed. So I had to take care of her medical expenses, etc. 2 operations in the Ambani hospital,
that must have been tough.
Yeah. So those things were going on in my life, and then suddenly I tried to kind of become entrepreneur one more time. So I walked up to my wife and I asked her, how much, how much more expenses, how many months can we stretch the expenses, until we are run out of money, right?
Right.
And she said 3 months.
Okay.
And I said, theek hai, 3 mahine mein we'll see if we can get the funding or whatever, going for us. And 3 months is nothing in startup. So 3 months is a lot, and as well it's just nothing. It's like it goes super fast.
My guess is that if you want to hire someone, do they have 3-month notices? Or
Yeah. So exactly.
That's
right?
what.
So when you're on a roll, 3 months is absolutely, it goes like a blank. But when you're starting up,
right,
3 months is it just goes very, very slow. You don't have any idea what is the product going to look like, what I'm going to name it. We didn't know CleverTap, or how do you incorporate a company in India, how do we split equity, all of these things.
Okay.
But we knew what we were going to make in the end. We were going to make a platform that is, behavioral analytics, which helps user engagement and all that stuff, right?
Okay.
So we knew what we were going to make, mota.
Okay.
We didn't know how we'll get there.
Okay.
But a lot of people don't have clarity about their, point B,
Sure.
They know where they are, point A, but they don't know how to get to point B, or what is point B.
Okay. So before I get into the final few parts, the final few things of the podcast, just wanted to ask you from there till I think you've got Series B funding, Series A funding.
Series A.
Series A. So, how long did that take and how was that journey? And then we'll get to the specific questions.
Yeah, that's actually very, I actually like talking about that.
Okay.
Because 4 years ago when we started CleverTap, we started with a few foundational things the 3 of us had a little, verbal pact that we will not consult outside, we will not become advisors on startup, boards, and we will not take equity for advising and do nothing of the funny stuff. 8 o'clock when we're in the shower, we're thinking about CleverTap. Night, the last thought is CleverTap. So we're not no one can call us and say, Abhi 3 baje mera board call hai, you have to be there because you told me you're going to advise me.
I'm seeing the same recurring thing out here. Passion, dedication, focus. One thing means one thing and one thing only.
Correct.
I think that's what you want to be.
Correct.
Okay, sure.
Correct, right? So that was that. That was one of the things, right? The second thing is that so we will be in the B2B space. Again, a lot of people told me, abhi to work के बाद कुछ local का ही करोगे ना, you'll go kill Zomato or whatever, like, next Zomato you'll make. I said, no, like, it's already done, right? I want to do things I've not done before. And that's kind of the journey of my life, from selling soap all the way to technology. But, it's okay, like, you learn a new thing.
Yeah.
So we said we will make a product and we'll put so much love, we'll make it so special that we don't have to go sell the product. People will come and buy the product, right? Very, very hard. Like, what's the last time you got excited about some Oracle or whatever? Like, using Oracle. Wow, like, your Tally, जाके लोगों को बोलो, boss, I am on Tally, मेरी balance sheet निकल गई इसमें से. Immediately work, the product works.
Yeah, it does.
Right? A lot of India uses it. But you don't get super passionate about Tally. Like, it doesn't bring tears into your eyes, like, when thinking of Tally. Yes, So we said, yaar, इसमें बहुत सारा you make it a very, very loved product. Like the Love Burp got, like, without any advertising dollars, without any social media, because there existed none.
Right.
Can we make a B2B product like that?
Okay.
So that's the second thing, right?
Okay.
And third thing, we said we'll keep things super simple. We won't overcomplicate things. Which means when we started out, we had a budget of 10,000 rupees for an office.
Okay.
Again, no salaries. Absolutely, Sunil and I are not working salaries. And Suresh is taking a token salary.
Okay.
And then 10,000 रुपए में broker ने बोला सर कुछ नहीं मिलने वाला है.
Okay.
थोड़ा budget बढ़ाओ. तो I called up Kunal of Freecharge. He's a good friend.
Okay.
I said, Kunal, I'm going to come hijack one of your meeting rooms. And that's going to be my office.
Okay.
But while I'm there, please do not bring any Freecharge problems to me. Okay, some databases stack or some SSL or whatever, right? So he said, no, done, man. It's yours. And I said, once we get the first round of funding, we'll get out of the office, your office.
Okay.
Right? A lot of passion, a lot of love, all that happened, right? Book My Show signed up. They were one of the first customers we had.
Okay.
And Ashish of Book My Show, Ashish Hemrajani, called up Prashant of Axel and says, you have to meet this team. They're on to something big.
Wow.
So that's how I got my first investor.
So your first client gets you your first investor. That's really something. That's like a testimony to your product. Correct.
Sure. Again, like, a lot of love. That's that shows, right? Like, you have to put a lot of heart and soul into it.
Right.
And, some of the inspirational sources are, Akio Morita ki book, like, Akio Morita is the founder of Sony.
Of course, yeah.
Right? He wrote a beautiful book, right? How Sony used to be called, like, it used to be kind of, considered a low quality company, right?
Electronics, yes.
In electronics, in Japan,
course,
of the 70s. Like, he kind of, revived the whole, Japanese quality means high quality. It's not like low bar, right?
Yeah.
Or pour it from your heart, right?
Yeah.
That's the Starbucks founder.
Oh, yeah, of course. Outschultz, yeah, correct.
Yeah. So those are my inspirational sources, like, and several others like that, like Zappos being one, where Zappos again, like, $1 billion exit to Amazon.
Amazon, yes.
But Tony Hsieh, like, talks a lot about, like, putting your heart into the product, right? And the guy was selling shoes, like, but it's still, like, phenomenal, right? That Amazon acquired them for $1 billion.
Right. So first investor, Axel.
We went, we had a phone call.
Okay.
And then they said, you guys come over.
Okay.
And Sunil and I went. And we don't know how to make PPTs. So that's like a skill I don't have. Neither does Sunil.
Pitch deck. I'm told it's called pitch deck. Okay.
So we've been doing things very unconventionally. So we went up to Axel and told them a James Bond story.
Okay.
So, actually it's very fun. Like, it's fun. Like, so we did this James Bond story and then and this was the IC pitch meeting. They all stepped out. And one of the investors, like, who's on our board now, he came back and he extended his arm and he said, we have a deal.
Wow. Okay.
So handshake happened, deal ho gaya. And then they left us.
Yeah.
And I was telling Sunil, ab paise kab aayenge? So, because we are still not taking salaries, like, so that first round of funding, and then we kind of, went to the whole, documentation and paperwork and liquidity preferences and all the stuff that I now know very, very, kind of deeply about. So that is how I got my first investor.
Okay. And then Sequoia, I think, right?
Or then Sequoia came in.
Okay.
So Axel put $1.6 million of seed capital. So that's called Series Seed.
Yeah.
An year later, Sequoia came again through a recommendation of a customer.
Again. Superb. Okay.
And they evaluated us. They kind of put us to the grinder. They spoke to a lot of the their portfolio companies that were using CleverTap.
Right.
And then they decided to put in $8 million. Okay. Where Axel also participated.
Fantastic. And that's so you've got Axel, you've got Sequoia, and you've got your clients giving testimonies for your product.
Correct.
I think that's a fantastic place to be. What a fantastic journey also. It's what from 1988, 99, 2006, and then 2013. Really thrilling to know. Anand, I want to move on to specific questions. Okay, like we've got quite a few of them from Twitter, from other places, from email. A lot of people want to ask you stuff. So I'm going to go to them right now. Moving on to the questions. Anand, this is in fact a question that even I've posed to myself many times, because I've also been in a full-time job and then decided to go on my own and stuff like that. I'm told that a lot of kids these days also, they get their experience from a job and then they, for whatever reason, they want to start out on their own. The question is like this: should I quit my job literally right now? I've got an idea, I've got a plan, and start my startup from tomorrow itself. What do you think should be the approach for someone who's thinking of that today in 2017?
Slightly longer answer I'll give, but this is very relevant and very important.
Yeah.
One is, are you entrepreneurial by nature?
Okay.
A good engineer might not necessarily become a good entrepreneur, right? You are an engineer, you are a great engineer, continue on that path, right? Find a co-founder who's a good entrepreneur, and then two of you can pair up and start your startup, right? When you quit your job, keep in mind all the other people that are dependent on you. For me, it was my mom, my kids, my wife, and some others, that I help.
Sure, of course.
So I had to figure out, okay, if, I have to start off on this journey, right? Again, running a startup is like climbing a mountain, and I go trekking also, so pardon my analogy, right?
Yeah.
But when you're midway up in the mountain, you have to cross it. There is no coming back because the rest of the folks are going to go cross it, right? So same thing with the startup. You can't quit midway. You can't say, bahut ho gaya yaar, this is like a slog for me, I'm going to quit and kind of do something else, right? While a job is not quite that much of a slog, there is an entire support structure around you. There is like a boss. You can go crib to the boss saying that, no, I don't enjoy my work, put me somewhere else, mera Gurgaon mein transfer kar do or whatever. When you are an entrepreneur, you have to deal with this on your chest. The bullets will keep firing and you have to take it, right? There is no running away from it. And when you have investors there, you're answerable to them also. So make sure that, whatever you do, whether you quit your job to become an entrepreneur or you continue, you put a lot of passion in it. You are a little entrepreneurial. A lot of people miss that fact. They're smart people. They may not necessarily be entrepreneurial. And they don't know, that's a skill gap that I need to find someone, pair up with someone and start this.
Okay.
Again, general advice is when you, quit your job, find one more co-founder. Never run a solo enterprise.
Right.
These things are very hard.
Right.
When you have one other person, you can at least, grab a good malt and at least sit across the table and have a good chat, to kind of.
Anything on 3 months expenditure के लिए तो थोड़ा provide करो, something of that sort?
Yeah, so I was very lucky in that sense कि जैसे ही CleverTap चालू करा, मेरी 4 महीने में गाड़ी चोरी हो गई, Scorpio. So I got insurance money. A car would have been no good.
Okay.
So I used to travel by auto rickshaw to work. And that money that I got, Scorpio is I think 12 lakh rupees, right?
Folks, don't get your car stolen to get funding for your venture, okay? I think, but okay, I get the point there, okay?
So 6.5 lakh rupees uske aa gaye, and kind of, I could stretch that for a few more months. But you're right, I think thoda sa plan a little bit, put some in your nest egg. In fact, as an entrepreneur, I would say, give that money to your wife to manage. You will take emotional decisions based on what happened at work or based on which investor told you, bhag sala.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to give it to someone who's more sensible, who's away from all this action.
Right.
So then that person can manage it, and then she'll say, boss, go slow on the expenses or don't swipe your card for the AWS expenses, etc.
Right. So two things. One is have the right mindset. That's more important than anything else. Have a co-founder. Preferably give your money to someone else to manage.
Yes.
Okay, great. Anything about, so I don't have a salary. How do I manage my credit cards, my, if I have a home loan, my car loan. So is there any way to manage all that, or how does it go there?
Yeah, so entrepreneurs, especially tech entrepreneurs or anyone that manufactures things, software ho ya jo bhi ho.
Sure.
We have been taught the concept of a minimum viable product.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
So if you want to make a product which is 2 wheels, go for the bicycle, don't make the motorcycle. Minimum viable product banao aur fir to nikal lo.
Okay.
Once you turn an entrepreneur, you have to figure out the minimum viable lifestyle.
Okay.
So don't go to that gold class recliner seat wali, so you have to give up all of that until you figure out a way to kind of get back into that.
Right.
So as I said, I used to live in the US. I used to live in a very, very fancy neighborhood.
Okay.
In fact, my other neighbors were Steven Spielberg and Andrew Agassi.
Get out. Seriously? Oh, that's been an experience.
It's a place called Marin County. It's north of San Francisco.
Lovely.
I used to take the ferry to work. all the way down to यहाँ पे local train means I used to take the train रात को 11 बजे वाली all the way ताकि 6 बजे अहमदाबाद पहुंच जाऊँ.
Oh man. Okay.
So you have to figure out. You have to kind of if you can't get rid of that, like if you still want to maintain your lifestyle, you can't become an entrepreneur. That's the first thing you have to give up.
Right.
And then find a way to get back to that level.
Fantastic. I think that's a very good takeaway. I mean, you need to get all those expenses, write them down, and then figure out what can you cut back on, minimize on, and only then you should give this a try. Insurance. It's good to have,
Yes.
ticket, health and all, because you've got dependents, you've got your wife, you've got your kids.
Correct.
So what would be a few products? I mean, you would have taken life insurance,
Yes.
Mediclaim, all of that, right?
Yes. So a month before I actually put my papers, me and my wife had a chat about the 3 mahina, you can stretch and all that.
Right.
Actually, it was 12 months, but she
Right.
told me 3 months.
Right.
That's how wife put pressure on their husbands. But, a month before that, I bought term life insurance.
Right.
I had health insurance.
Sure.
I believe one of those LIC things, if I'm not mistaken.
LIC is life insurance. You probably have a Mediclaim kind of thing, maybe from your company or something, and then I'm guessing that you would have taken, an additional Mediclaim along with that or something.
That is correct. You're right. Absolutely. Actually, I did. Yeah. I think it was Bajaj Alliance.
Bajaj Alliance, correct.
I took a Mediclaim of that. Yes.
Yeah.
Just a month before I quit, so that once I am off on my own,
Yeah.
these things help.
So there you go, folks. Life insurance must, Mediclaim must, credit card, go figure it out. You're not going to have a lavish lifestyle. Cut back on your expenses as far as you can. Home loan, car loan, well, you'll need to figure out your expenses there also, because as an entrepreneur, as Anand has told us, there are a lot of things that you'll have to cut back on, at least in the initial phase. 2 things more, Anand. Will I get a Ferrari or something as part of my startup deal? कुछ investor है, कुछ Ferrari का scope?
ये वो पता क्या होता है, हम लोग बहुत लोग ना, we wait for this grand finale in life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In the school books we were taught, the journey is as important as the destination and all that.
Yes.
I think it's time to kind of bring that back in a way, this startup journey, as I said, in Burp I never hit pay dirt, but the whole journey, still people fondly remember me from the Burp days. I run into people who say, I used to write a review, and then I ask them the user handle, and I know them from their user handle. Right. And I've made lifelong friends like that,
Right.
who were users of Burp, but after Burp they kind of met me in person, and that's how I know them.
Okay.
So the journey is very, very important. Don't wait for the Ferrari. Ferrari नहीं मिलने वाली है.
iPhone 10 का कुछ scope? एक लाख रुपए का फोन है यार, वो तो मिल जाए. Because it seems the startup founders need to have the way the image होना चाहिए उन लोग का. They should look stylish like iPhone 10 and whatnot.
Sir, I Twitter पे पढ़ा था मैंने कि if you put that on vacation mode, it better take you on vacation. अगर 1 लाख रुपए का फोन है तो उससे कम कुछ नहीं होना चाहिए.
On flight mode. On flight mode. Keep that in mind, all you young guys who want to become entrepreneurs. The passion, the love, and your work should matter more than the Ferrari and the iPhone 10. And I think what Anand's made, he's made a fantastic point out here. The product that you leave behind, the product that you make, should have so much of passion and love in it that people relate to you with your work. Really, the Ferraris and the iPhone 10s can keep on coming, but money is an outcome. Your work should be a focus and dedication. Anand, last bit of the show, tell us about CleverTap. What's it about? What does it do?
Yeah, so CleverTap is a user behavior analytical engine and a user engagement platform. To put it very simply, it helps you figure out what's happening in your app, or who's using your app, who are the users, where they are from, how often do they come in and make a purchase, or do they add things to the wish list or watch a video, etc. And you can segment users into groups. And then you can engage these groups. You can send them push notifications, send them emails, SMSs, depending upon what they've done in the past.
Right. I think I read, I think it was Anag on Twitter who said that if only some of his customers, your Facebook post, he said that if only your customers knew the features that CleverTap had to offer, their services would be much, much more better.
Correct.
So what do you say about that?
Yeah, it's like MS Word. We only use 10% of MS Word. You can go write a book. If you were J.K. Rowling, you could write a book, but hum log to nahi hai. Similarly, we made a very deep product, works for different folks. They use different features of CleverTap.
Right.
One of the challenges we have internally is to make sure that a lot of customers use most of the features, and we are getting there gradually.
So Anand, CleverTap sounds like a fantastic product. What are the clients like? What is the work that you do?
Yeah, we work at both ends of the spectrum. We have really tiny startups all the way to large enterprises. Some of India's largest companies are our clients. For example, we power all of Jio apps.
Oh, wow.
Every single one of them.
They've got a lot of apps.
They've got a lot of apps. We realized once they went live that there's a whole bunch of apps that they have. They came in through word of mouth. So earlier, I was talking about passion and building a lot of love. Give a lot of love to your customers, and they will go recommend your product to some other customers. I have companies like Hotstar using us. We have Zomato. We have Vodafone.
Zomato. Wow.
ClearTrip.
Karma, huh? From Bob Zomato. Awesome. Okay. ClearTrip.
Yeah. In fact, we have a 95% coverage in the food tech sector. Every single player uses us.
Fantastic. I'm sure that you'll cover all the other sectors also very soon.
Sure.
I'm sure you'll get there and much further. Anand Jain of CleverTap, thank you so much for joining us on Paisa Vaisa. Really had a good time talking to you. Folks, Anand Jain is Hello Anand on Twitter, HELLOANAND. You can reach out to me with your questions. I'm B50. Thank you for listening to Paisa Vaisa.
Thank you, Anupam. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. If you have any money-related questions, you can tweet to us at IVM Podcasts or email us at paisavaisa@indusvox.com.
No material on the show should be considered as financial advice. The material on the show is for informational purposes only. Please consult a financial advisor before taking any investment decision.
एक्सक्यूज मी भैया, एक्सक्यूज मी।
बोलिए मैडम।
मेन्यू में क्या है?
मेन्यू में सीन अनसीन है, पॉडकास्ट है, ऑन कोर्स है, साइरस है, मेड इन इंडिया, रीडिस्कवरी प्रोजेक्ट, एम्पावरिंग सीरीज, सेक्स वैक्स है, IVM लाइक्स है, सिंप्लीफाइड है, कीपिंग इट क्वियर है, ड्रिंक्स एंड डेस्टिनेशंस है, माय नेबर जकरबर्ग है और द फन गराज है। आपको क्या चाहिए?
एक बार रिपीट कर देंगे क्या?
रिपीट नहीं करता हम। आप जाओ IVMpodcast.com पे और सुनो ये सब, या फिर डाउनलोड करो उनका ऐप, सब आपकी उंगलियों पे।